This is Music, and this is the first dungeon dive of 2022. I figured that the first dungeon dive of 2022 should be one that addresses some pretty good stuff. So I decided to have a look at the two demos that Cyanotic made, a death metal band that are in the Demo Dungeon. And these guys actually did end up releasing a full-length album, so I think that's pretty cool. Alright, so once again we are looking at the dungeon, the Danish Demo Dungeon, a website that archives lots of demo tapes by artists, mainly heavy metal artists from the Danish underground scene from the late 80s on to the early 2000s, and a lot of it is from the 90s, and that's really when the metal scene, especially the extreme metal scene, had its kind of first heyday in Danish metal. There was like a previous heyday, I think, but that was more like hard rock and traditional metal and a bit of thrash. Anyways, we are interested in Cyanotic, so let's go down here, click Cyanotic. There you go, pretty cool logo, I think, very 90s extreme metal logo. You got two band shots here, so like there are 4-piece here, they are a 5-piece here. There are two demos in the dungeon. There is the Chasm Within from 92, and there's Promo 95 from 95. And they actually, as I mentioned, they ended up releasing a full-length album. So I think that's very good. So if we take the Chasm Within first, this is a really, really good death metal demo, in my opinion. Especially Eclipsed Existence, this song here. This is actually one of my favorite death metal songs, I have to be honest and say. And what's really cool about this song is that it's death metal and it's melodic, but it's not like the Swedish Gothenburg style of melodeath. I like that style. It might have become a bit watered down, but I like that style. But I really like that this band sort of made death metal melodic in a very different way. And I guess since it's from 92, it almost kind of predates the Swedish melodic death metal style a bit. So Eclipsed Existence is a great song. It's built on a great sort of inherently melodic, palm muted kind of tremolo picking riff. So it sounds like run-of-the-mill death metal, and it is kind of like a run-of-the-mill death metal approach, but the riffs is just melodic instead of dark and chromatic, right? Which you would typically have. Anyways, a great song. You know, you can whistle the riff, you can hum along to it, and there's some great brutal growling as well. This guy is great at growling. So Eclipsed Existence is a great death metal song, in my opinion. It's brutal, but it's still melodic. Emotional Penetration and Act of Persecution are more kind of like standard early 90s death metal songs, but they still have this element of melody to them, not as much as Eclipsed Existence, but they're still very, very good. Some crushing death metal riffage again. And the production it's not bad. Like, I mean, again, it's from 92, right? So we keep that in mind. And not a bad production. It is a bit muffled, perhaps. The drums sound a bit woolen, maybe. Not the performance. The performance is pretty much flawless across the board. But the production is a bit muffled every now and then. I don't know, maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe they were kind of aiming for a Morrisound kind of death metal sound, which was very popular in the early 90s. So maybe that's it, or maybe it's just, the limits of recording technology at the time. But The Chasm Within, for my money, a great death metal demo. Seriously, if you, for some reason, it's probably very rare, but if you come across a copy of it, pick it up. Do yourself a favor and pick it up. It's absolutely brilliant for my money. Remember, it's just my opinion. Great stuff. Especially Eclipsed Existence. That's a brilliant track. I really like that one, as you may have figured out. Okay, then Promo 95. They've changed their style a bit because they've added, I think now they're a 5-piece, so they've added an extra guitar, which means that they can do sort of like guitar solos and things like that. I think there's some guitar melodies on the previous one, but there might be some solos. I actually don't remember. Promo 95, they've changed the style a bit. It's no longer sort of stereotypical early 90s death metal. They have taken an approach which, imagine, I don't know if this makes any sense, but imagine, so you have Carcass, you have Necroticism, you have Swan Song. So imagine if Carcass did not go through inventing melodic death metal and then, on hard work and then to Swan Song. But imagine if they just went straight to that sort of more death and roll style, then it would be kind of like somewhere in between Necroticism and Swan Song. So not being hard work, but being like mid-tempo death metal, still crushing, but not that much kind of like Swedish sounding melodeath to it. There's still lots of melody, but they do their own thing. Mid-tempo, I think also there's a bit of an influence from Latter Day Bolt Thrower, which I have no problem with because I like Latter Day Bolt Thrower. So they still sort of, shall we say, they're still melodic, but they add like groove, not like stereotypical groove, metal groove, but the riffs are a bit more sort of like groovy and head bobbing. They invite that. The vocals are not as brutal. I don't know if they picked up a different vocalist. They're still growl, but they're not as brutal as on The Chasm Within. But you got 4 songs on this, and they're all really good for my money, and they are kind of like a sign of things to come, because the style on their full-length album is kind of like the next step from this. Of course, by the logic of my twisted analogy, it would sound like Swan Song. It doesn't. Their album doesn't sound like Swan Song. It sounds more like this Promo 95. So mid-tempo, riff-centric death metal. Some very good songs. You still have a melodic sensibility for sure, but they have sort of pulled in some other ingredients. And I would say all 4 songs are very good on this album. Floating Past is perhaps my favorite. Destiny Vanished is also good for sure. Salvation Accomplished, great song. And Indolent, also very good. Might be my kind of like second favorite on this demo tape. So for sure, if you like melodic death metal and you want to hear something kind of different from what Melodeath ended up being, and again, I like the Gothenburg sound, although it's probably watered down a bit now, but when it was in its heyday, I really enjoyed it. But if you like melodic death metal, but you want something slightly different, check out this, The Chasm Within and Promo 95. If you come across physical copies of these demos somehow, pick them up if they're fairly priced. And also, if you find their full-length album, because I think it was out on CD, it's probably not out on vinyl, and I don't know if it's out on tape, but it's out on CD. If you find a copy of that, I would pick it up too. And actually, That's one of the things I'm going to do this year. I'm going to try to look for a copy of their full-length album without it being a grail necessarily. But that's Cyanotic for my money. Again, especially Eclipsed Existence on The Chasm Within. That's a great, great song. It was on one of the Fuck You, We're From Denmark compilations. I don't remember which one. It's not the fourth one, the bad one, the one that I'm on. It's one of the others. It might even be the first one. And that was the standout track on the whatever volume of Fuck You, We're From Denmark it was on. It's, for my money, it's that great a song. So check out Cyanotic. I think there's another band out there, a grindcore band called Cyanotic. So just make sure you sort of go to the correct band. I'm not saying you shouldn't check out the other Cyanotic if you like grindcore, but if you're interested in this band, just make sure that it's this band. So that's Cyanotic for my money. Good stuff, quality death metal, and they actually did make a full-length album, which is absolutely great. So that was Cyanotic's 2 demos in the Danish Demo Dungeon, and I would say that this is really, really good stuff. I really like that it's death metal, which is melodic without being melodeath. I don't have a problem with melodeath, but it's just cool to hear some other approach to making death metal melodic. So that was Cyanotic. Thanks for watching.